What are the easiest maps in the history of Call of Duty Zombies? Well, today I'm going to be telling you what I think they are, or at least the top 5. Maybe one day we'll make a video counting down all of them, but we're just going to keep it simple and fun for this video. But of course, as you watch this video, I'd encourage you guys to head down to the comment section and drop your list. What do you think are the 5 easiest maps in the history of Call of Duty Zombies? And by the end of it, kind of see how that compares to mine and try to figure out where we have some disagreements, or maybe even where we agree. But let's start having a bit fun. Drop a like, subscribe, and let's get right into this list. Number 5, Forsaken. Now this one definitely had to be the hardest one for me to really decide for what should go in this slot, because there's so many arguments for what should be the 5th easiest map, but in the end I went with Forsaken. And the reason for that is not because it has the easiest Easter egg, the easiest setup, or even the easiest high rounds. Really what it just came down to was a freaking crystal axe. That crystal axe is OP. I don't think people give it the credit that it deserves, but it is so freaking OP. That thing is like a one-hit kill till somewhere around round 50, and then on top of that, when you do swing it, it kills all the zombies in front of you. It just doesn't kill one zombie, it kills all of them. And even if a zombie does find a way to actually hit you, it doesn't really matter, because when you kill a zombie with it, it gives you more armor. It's pretty much God mode till round 50. That is super OP, and people really need to start giving it credit. And even if you do want to ignore that, or at least point out the flaw that it isn't an infinite damage gun, and at round 50 it does no longer do a one-hit kill, but even with that, high rounds are still pretty easy. It's Cold War at the end of the day. The Easter egg is still pretty easy. I know I've never failed it, and then the setup is still pretty easy. So to me, I think there's very good reasons for why we should put Forsaken at number 5. Number 4, Buried. Now, I know a lot of people would probably have this higher on their list, and that's for good reason, because Buried has an incredibly easy setup, and on top of that, high rounds are pretty easy on this map, even after the nerf to the Paralyzer, especially if you start incorporating some of the buildables around the map. High rounds still can be pretty easy, but the reason why it didn't really end up higher on my list is solely because of the Easter eggs. The Easter eggs are just so annoying. They have so many difficult steps, or really just one mainly. And I know this is kind of coming from personal bias, because I've never been able to complete a buried Easter egg, but at the same time, this whole video really is personal bias, so yeah, you know what you signed up for. But oh my gosh, there's so many steps, whether it be the maze step, infinite round step, the wisp step, or especially the most annoying one, that freaking sharpshooter step. Oh my gosh, I hate that step so much. I've never been able to complete it, and I despise it till this day. So yeah, that's the reason it ends up here. Number 3, Ascension. Now, originally, I really wanted to put Ascension at the number 1 spot, and who could blame me? It has the best wonder weapon of all time with the Thunder Gun, and it has probably the easiest training location of all time. And even though the Easter egg is kind of RNG super heavy, it's not really that difficult at the end of the day. But what really made me kind of drop it down on this list was literally just the monkeys. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I hate the monkeys. I think they're the worst invention to ever see the light of day in Call of Duty Zombies, and I despise them. The amount of times I'm trying to go high rounds and a freaking zombie takes my freaking quick revive is so annoying. It is so annoying, especially if they do a back-to-back on you and you're on freaking round 70 and the monkeys just stole your final quick revive and Juggernaut. That is so freaking annoying, and maybe I'm just traumatized from that single experience or multiple experiences doing that, but oh my gosh, because of that, I just cannot convince myself to put this any higher. Number 2, Mob of the Dead. Now, normally when I hear people talk about easy Call of Duty Zombies maps, Mob of the Dead isn't mentioned too often, and I'm a bit confused why, because you think about it, Mob of the Dead has the easiest Easter egg of all time, and high rounds are pretty easy. The higher rounds are harder, but it's easy to get to round 70 or something like that. It has some of the easiest training spots of all time. It has traps on the map, and it also has some pretty solid wonder weapons, including the Hell's Redeemer. All of that makes it a pretty easy experience. The only argument I really see see against this is that the Pack-a-Punch quest is a bit more complicated than most maps, which that's fair, especially because of the fact that you have to re-grab all the parts if you want to go back to Pack-a-Punch. But what really negates literally all of that is literally the Afterlife mode. Like, are we just going to ignore how broken Afterlife is? It's probably the most broken thing in the history of Call of Duty Zombies. Like, it is so freaking broken. On co-op, every single player, every single round has a new quick revive, a self revive. That's what you have every single round. It's not like just buying quick revive that disappears after buying it 3 times. Like, this is something you get every single round. And then on solo, it's just as broken because you have up to 3 of these per round. You can go down 3 times in 1 round and still not get a game over. And then the next round, it starts refreshing with even more afterlives after that. And that is just such an incredibly broken thing that just makes Mob of the Dead so easy, on top of the many things that are already very easy for Mob of the Dead. Number 1, Kino der Toten. Now, honestly, when I went to make this video, Kino being number 1 was not something I really had in mind. I always thought that this would be on the list, but not really at the top. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought, like, yeah, what is difficult about Kino exactly? Because, like, the setup is incredibly easy on this. Like, just buy to power, and then you buy to the rest of the perks, and then you just activate the teleporter and get to Pack-a-Punch, and you're set. Like, you're already set at that point. And if that didn't make it easy enough, like, literally the freaking best wonder weapon of all time, the Thunder Gun, is already on this map. Like, that already makes it incredibly easy. And it also has some very easy training spots. Definitely not the easiest training spots in the history of Call of Duty Zombies, but definitely some really, really solid ones. So yeah, what is difficult about this experience? Now, obviously it doesn't have an Easter egg to even factor that in, so yeah, what is difficult about it? That's really just my question. Like, all the other maps on this list, I can at least think about one thing that potentially makes it difficult, but for Kino, I mean, maybe the Nova Crawlers, I guess, but I mean, once you get the Thunder Gun, you don't really have to worry about them all that much, to be honest.